How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Family. We are back with another FPL video, and today we're looking at my first draft. This was the draft that I put together basically when I saw the prices and got off stream and was kind of like, this is what I would probably do for my first FPL draft if I had to put one together. I made one slight change to it, and that's just mainly due to a signing for one of the defenders that just basically makes sense, but it is kind of a placeholder in that sense. So we'll take a look at how the draft is at the or the first draft was at the moment, and in the next video, which will be sometime next week, we'll look at what my latest draft is and how that's kind of changed from this current one. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new or haven't done so already. It greatly helps out the channel, as well as leave a comment down below as to what your first draft looked like and what it's potentially looking like right now as we are recording this on the 23rd of July. We still have a few weeks left before the start of the FPL season. Also, make sure to join the Flames Recruits League. We also have the link for that in the description below, as well as over on my Twitter bio. It's PilotFlame226 on all platforms, so make sure to check us out over there as well. Now, without further ado, let's see what my first draft looked like. So this is what the first draft kind of entailed. I wanted to go with a 4.5 and a 4.0 goalkeeper initially off the start. That's kind of what I do as a basis for my first initial draft. So the fact that I saw that Areola came in at 4 million, he was straight in because he could potentially be the starting goalkeeper for West Ham this season. So that was pretty much a no-brainer. Pickford went in there just because of Everton's great fixtures in the first 8 game weeks. So I thought that was a good option there. That could easily be Flecken, the newly purchased goalkeeper for Brentford. It could be the likes of Bernd Leno over at Fulham. There are a few good 4.5 options. Now with my draft evolving potentially, we could see maybe Andre Onana come in, who at the time of recording is actually in the game, and I did some experimenting with him, so that'll be in my latest draft video potentially if he's in there. We'll see if he makes the team. In terms of like kind of nailed on players in the back line, Estupiñán at 5 million, I thought that was very cheap, especially with Brighton's opening few fixtures. So he was straight into the team. Luke Shaw, another one, 5.5 million. Had he come in at 6, maybe 6.5 like Trippier, maybe there was a conversation there, but 5.5 straight in. United's fixtures off the start are quite good. And then I went with a bit of a rotation, and this is where I mentioned in the start of the video, in kind of the intro, that we made a change. So I put in Pau Torres. Originally it was like Tyrone Mings, or I think Matty Cash is also 4.5 as well. So it could have been any one of those Aston Villa defenders, but Pau Torres being the new signing, you would expect him to be in there. But once we know who those players in the back line for Villa are going to be in a game week basis, you can then basically just pick that one. And we could pick one of seemingly 3, maybe even 4 potentially. So I've just put Pau Torres in there. But the rotation between Everton and Villa was the one I was kind of looking at. Maybe I wouldn't go, double Everton defense in hindsight. They were a team that did finish, what was it, 17th last season. So maybe that is something to kind of, take a look at. But in terms of James Tarkowski, seems to be the most nailed on defender at Everton. Everton have good fixtures off the start. Fulham at home being the first one. 4.5 million has some goal threat as well. And in terms of the opening 6 or so fixtures, they have Fulham at home. Villa away is not great, but it's okay. Wolves at home, Sheffield United away is good. Arsenal at home isn't the best. Brentford away can be tricky. Luton at home, Bournemouth at home in the opening 8. So you would say probably the tricky ones is game week 2, game week 5, and game week 6. So if we take a look at Villa's fixtures, I don't think they exactly match up, but it is quite close. So Everton at home, again, they play each other, so it doesn't matter what defender I pick. Game week 5, Crystal Palace at home is a good fixture. And then game week 6 is probably the only sticky point. But again, we do have transfers. We can make changes to the team by that time. Who knows? We might have already wildcarded by then. But 2, 5, and 6 were the ones that Tarkowski didn't really cover too well. But again, Brentford away isn't the worst fixture in the world for Everton, especially with the lack of Ivan Toney. So maybe we'll just play him in game week 6, 7, and 8, play him in 4, play him in 3, play him in 1, and then in 2 in game week 5 as well, we can play Pau Torres, who would be playing he would have the home fixture versus Everton, and would have the home fixture versus Palace. There is also potentially a debate. Burnley away could be an option in Game Week 3, depending on how Villa are looking as well. So that was kind of the rotation I was kind of looking for. In terms of Trent, I didn't put him initially in the draft because I looked at the midfielder pricing and was like, I can just get so many good midfielders here, especially with the fixtures off the start. And if you see the front 7, basically, it comes from teams that finished inside the top 3 places last season. In terms of the bench options as well, Baldock was the one I went for as my cheap defender. Just because I've seen Baldock play in the Premier League before. I mean, this could be any 4.0. Whichever one you go for, you want them to be not as highly owned as the other ones. And the main reason for that is because, let's say you go for Bell, who's been, you know, kind of, this 4 million defender that plays for Luton. We can rely on him. Well, he might not start the season, or if he doesn't play the first game or something like that, then his price could drop quite quickly if he has a much higher ownership. Whereas George Baldock did get a decent number of minutes when he played in the Premier League the previous time that he was in there with Sheffield United. In the 2021 season, in the 1920 season as well, played quite a few minutes. Seems to play the majority of minutes, I would say, for Sheffield United as well, assuming no transfers change this. Not keyed in on that as of yet, but it seems like he could be one to be a 4-man defender that could help out every now and again. And in terms of their fixtures as well, you know, some okay ones off the start. They do play Everton, as mentioned, in Game Week 4, but overall not great. He's just going to be there kind of as a bench player at 4.0 million. And then El Sims, the reason I went for him was because he was low owned, and he also got transferred to Coventry. Now, the reason this is important is because at 4.5 million, if you've already had him in your team before he got transferred, he'll still be available in the game. I'm not sure if he still is available in the game to be purchased in your team, but his price will be fixed, as far as I know. The way it works is basically once a player is transferred to a different league, basically, which Coventry is not in the Premier League, so therefore that is considered a different league. His price cannot go up or it cannot go down. So therefore, if you have one of these cheaper strikers like an Archer or something like that who doesn't play and is highly owned, but then potentially drops down in price because of, hey, look, he's not playing, he's a cheap striker, I'll get rid of him, I'll move him up to a different striker, a different forward position rather, then you could lose some value. Whereas Ellis Sims, he's not going to change in value. So I'll be able to sell him at the same price no matter what. Now, I don't get the advantages of it if he were to go up in price, but I certainly won't lose any value on him either. So that was one I kind of got in on quite early. And then for the front 7, this is where kind of the meat of it is, really. Bukayo Saka, you know, he's going to be in a lot of teams, 53% currently at the time of recording. Had a brilliant season last season, 14 goals, 12 assists. Looking to potentially extend that, assuming he's on penalties as well, potentially. So one to keep an eye on. It is worth noting that this draft has 0.0 in the bank. So it's using all 100 million of the transfer value. Gabriel Martinelli missed a couple of chances versus United, actually, in last night's friendly. But only in 14.2% of teams, which surprises me. He ended up getting just shy of 200 points last season with 6 million. Is the cheapest of the Arsenal kind of major midfielders that were in our teams last season, being Odegaard and Saka, him being 0.5 less than them. Yes, you could say he's a rotation risk and that sort of thing. Havertz being 7.5 million, he looked to be potentially getting in the box as well. I just have him kind of as a placeholder. If I feel that his minutes could be major risk, then it's maybe worth looking at potentially, you know, changing him out for someone who's going to be a more guaranteed starter, like an Odegaard as an example, and then find the 0.5 million elsewhere, downgrading someone. Or maybe even drop down to another 7.5. I could potentially get another 7.5 million Man City midfielder. That could be an option. That would free up 0.5 million. We can upgrade one of our 4.5 million defenders and then trade that Arsenal spot for a Gabriel or a Saliba or something like that. So that's just one thing that I was also considering. And up the third Arsenal player is Gabriel Jesus. He came in 8 million, I believe, last season as well. When I saw that price, I was like, well, that's way too cheap. Did really well. Ended up getting 11 goals, 7 assists, and was injured for the majority of it. Only played just over 2,000 minutes. Didn't really do well when he came back, but I think of preseason under his belt, He'll be involved, and Arsenal's opening fixtures are quite good, so it makes sense to have him. The only other one that I would consider would be Odegaard, but I think that potentially Odegaard might have a bit more defensive responsibility this season, especially if Havertz is going to play the left-sided attacking, like kind of number 8 role in Arteta's system, which I think against teams that are, a bit more quick-paced or at the elite level, like your Man Cities, like your Manchester Uniteds, Havertz might not be playing, basically. So he might be just kind of, I mean, that's probably when you don't want assets from a team when they are playing the tough teams, like Liverpool, Man City, United, these sorts of teams. But I just think that Odegaard potentially might have his role kind of reduced a little bit, although he will get the minutes as well. So just one to kind of keep an eye on. Moving into the two Manchester clubs, the remaining 4 players. So I put Bruno Fernandes in here. I thought at 8.5 million, that's just way too cheap, to be honest. Only got 8 goals and 9 assists last season, but we know what he can do. The 18 goal, 14 assist, 244 point season in the 2020-21 season was brilliant. When he came in just after or basically at the end of the January transfer window in 1920, 8 goals, 8 assists. We know he's very good. He could also potentially be on penalties. We're not entirely sure of that. But if he's going to be playing this, like, attacking number 8 role that's close to Marcus Rashford and with Mason Mount on the other side, or even potentially, which is what we've seen in United preseason thus far, that United are playing a false 9 currently at the moment, because United don't really have a striker. They've Ten Hag's put Jadon Sancho in there, and Bruno could potentially in the bigger games play in that role. You could see a system where you have Casemiro in there. Maybe they go out and sign Amrabat. He gets thrown in the mix there. Then you have Mason Mount, who's a more industrious kind of attacking midfielder. Maybe not as on the creative side of Bruno Fernandes, but definitely a bit more. It has more defensive attributes, I would say, in terms of pressing and that sort of stuff. And then Bruno plays kind of at the tip of it, maybe forming like a diamond, maybe, but as a false 9 with Rashford on one side and Antony on another. And then they look to break quickly, and Bruno kind of is that kind of focal point to bulk out the midfield, but also make runs into the box and score, because we know he is a very good finisher in his own right. But 8.5 million, I thought it was pretty straightforward. And then Rashford at 9 million. I thought Saka should have been 9 million as well. Personally, 17 goals, 7 assists for Marcus Rashford. If he's 9 million, I don't understand how Saka's not 9 million. I believe Saka came in last season at a similar-ish price to Rashford. Rashford was 6.5. Saka might have been like 6.5 or 7. I can't remember, to be honest with you. But Rashford only scored 205 points. Saka 202 points. If the break point's 3 points, I don't know. But I think 9 million is a fair price, and I think Rashford's going to be in a lot of FPL teams, especially with the United's good start. And if Rashford is playing through the middle, even though me personally I don't think he's as good there, he's going to see a lot of traction in our FPL teams. Not as high as Saka's, but I think could be quite good, and is one of 2 penalty takers. It's going to be him or Bruno Fernandes, most likely, even if a striker comes in. Unless it's Harry Kane specifically, I think that one of these 2 will be taking the penalty taker spot, although United didn't get very many last season, from what I remember. Erling Haaland goes without saying. He's going to be in everyone's team. He's going to be captain the majority of weeks. It is worth saying, in the opening, let's say, 8 fixtures, Arsenal away in game week 8, West Ham away, even though he scored 2 in the opening day in the last season last year, and Newcastle at home are potential fixtures where you can go against him. I believe United in game week 2, Spurs away, not the greatest. Game week 5, Brighton at home, not the greatest. Brentford at home, it's okay, not ideal. But in terms of Arsenal, who did come second last season, Crystal Palace away, not bad. Everton away, not bad. And then they play each other in game week 8. So there might not be as good of options, and it might just literally be stick to captaincy on Haaland because he's so good. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But my other Man City player that I've gone with is Phil Foden, 13.7%. From what I saw in their game that they played, I believe it's over in Asia. They had Phil Foden basically playing this left-sided central midfield role, which was basically like how Ilkay Gundogan used to play. And oftentimes we found Foden popping up in areas where he was close to Erling Haaland, which is quite good. I mean, Phil Foden, 11 goals, 7 assists in 1,800 minutes. I mean, that is very, very good. I mean, if you just compare that to Gabriel Martinelli, as an example, he had 4 less goals, 2 less assists, but played also almost like 1,000 minutes less than Gabriel Martinelli. That's pretty good for Phil Foden. So he's going to play a lot more minutes. You know, the likes of Mahrez is potentially leaving as well. Bernardo Silva could be on his way out. Gundogan has already left. So Pep might have to reinvent something, and it could be Foden that goes in there. So I think he's definitely going to be more involved, whether it is off the right or in that central midfield role. It would make a bit more sense to be in that central midfield role, a bit more balanced, because he is left-footed, and Pep often played Bernardo Silva in that left-sided central midfield role to give a bit more balance in there as well. And Foden is quite good at pressing and winning the ball back, and is super creative and can play that kind of like how David Silva used to play alongside De Bruyne in there before he left City as well. So I think he could be a good shout. 7.5 million, I think, is the price for all the City midfielders. So definitely one to watch there, and I think it is a very good price for him. Again, you know what you get with them. Potentially some rotation risk. So, but I think Foden could be quite good. And another note is, in between game weeks 1 and 2, City do have to travel. I can't remember where they have to travel, but I know it's I think it's Club World Cup or whatever it is. That they have to travel to go play. So they will have a game midweek of game week 1 and 2, and they also have a blank, but that's further down the line in game week 18. I can't remember exactly what it's called between game week 1 and 2, but I know that they have a game that's not part of the Premier League. So let me know what you think of this first draft. This is one I kind of put together. I probably settled on it a week after the game launched. I think it looks pretty solid. The only thing I would say is defense maybe not as sharp. And the goalkeeper I'm still not convinced on as well. But we'll make changes. We'll see what it looks like in a week's time, because that'll be my latest draft. I haven't really messed around with it too much since I kind of did this draft and kind of settled on it. And now I've done a video for it. So let me know what you think down in the comments below. And that's going to do it for my first draft of the 23-24 FPL season. Welcome to the Fantasy Football Scout members area, the one place that you need to be tuned into for the upcoming FPL season. It has a wide variety of resources and tools that will help improve your FPL game today. It has a bunch of different members-only articles written by some of the best FPL managers across the globe, heat maps for all the players and positions, as well as player comparison tools, which will help you see side by side who is going to be more effective for your FPL team, fully customizable stats tables powered by Opta stats, and much, much more. Use the link down in the description below so that you can get access to the Fantasy Football Scout members area today. It'll help improve your FPL game. So that is going to do it for my first draft of the 23-24 FPL season. If you haven't done so already, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. It definitely helps out the channel, helps out the YouTube algorithm, or that's what at least everyone says. Most likely it probably does, but who knows. But yeah, make sure to do that. Make sure to follow us on all the socials, PilotFlame226 on all platforms. And like I said, leave a comment down below as to how your first draft looked and what it is potentially going to look like in a few weeks' time. Let me know if you like any of the players that I've chosen, any ones that you dislike that I have chosen as well, and let me know what you think about potentially what formation could be the most chosen in the coming weeks before the start of the FPL season. Me personally, I think 3-5-2 is going to be quite popular, with a kind of mid-priced striker, 5 in midfield, getting some of the best midfielders in the game, and going a little bit cheaper at the back, potentially leaving out Trent and Mo Salah, who we didn't even talk about much at all. But he could be in our latest draft, but we'll wait and see come next week. So thank you all for watching, and until the next one, take care.